Hello, romance book lovers. Welcome to Tales from the Heart. I'm Jenna Harte, and each week I post new episodes from my stories of crime and passion. Right now, we're listening to Til Death Do Us Part, Book 4 of the Valentine Mysteries. This week is Episode 9, Chapter 9. Now, if you'd like to read along or get ahead in the story, you can get Til Death Do Us Part from your favorite ebook retailer, or you can save by buying direct from me. Now, Til Death Do Us Part is the fourth book in the series. If you missed book 1, Deadly Valentine, you can listen by checking earlier episode postings, or if you'd like to read it, you can get Deadly Valentine for free at my website, jennaharte.com. Books 2 and 3, Old Flames Never Die, and With This Ring I Thee Kill, are also available in earlier episode postings, or you can read by picking it up at your favorite ebook retailer or for less through my shop. Tales from the Heart is posted to YouTube and podcasts each week. These episodes are edited to take out all those intimate content, but if you'd like to have a version that includes the spicy bits, plus early access, behind-the-scenes information about the stories, bonus content, and more, please join my exclusive free Sweetheart group over at jennaharte.com. Never miss the mystery or romance by hitting the subscribe button, and remember that all the details and links you might need are just a click away in the description. Now snuggle up, get comfy, and enjoy the show.
Chapter 9. Tess had another full day to entertain herself since the shop was closed on Mondays as well as Sundays. She took a short run in the morning, knowing that when Jack got home she'd burn more calories. She went through her cookbooks to find a recipe for dinner. She wasn't a good cook unless chocolate was involved, but it wasn't from a lack of trying. She was vacillating between a chicken mango and pad thai recipe when her phone rang. The display indicated it was Ava. Her first thought was, oh no, but she stomped it down. Maybe Ava was calling to check in on her or invite her to lunch.
Hello?
Mrs. Valentine, it's Josh Abbott, Ava's assistant.
Yes.
A trickle of worry slid down Tess's spine that Ava's voice wasn't on the other end.
I didn't know who else to call. I heard you were once a lawyer, so I thought I'd call you.
Are you having trouble with your arraignment?
That was this morning, and Ava bailed me out. But we weren't back to the hotel for 5 minutes before the police were there wanting her to go to the station with them.
The panic kicked up a notch.
Was she arrested?
I don't think so, but it didn't seem good.
You were right to call me. I'm going to call an attorney I trust to come down there.
I'd like to keep this out of the press.
Keeping her from getting arrested should be your concern now,
Tess said.
Yes, of course.
I'll have him go now, and I'll meet you both there.
As she drove to the police station, Tess called Lance Gray, a defense attorney she knew and had referred to before.
The last case you sent to me, you proved she was guilty,
He said.
Yes, but you got paid to defend her, didn't you?
Once she explained the case and the person needing his services, Lance agreed to go to the station right away.
Be sure to shut her up,
Tess said.
I know what to do.
Oh, and tell her Josh is responsible for getting you.
Will do. See you in a few.
Tess was barely through the station doors when Josh ran up to meet her.
The lawyer is here?
He looked only slightly relieved. She didn't blame him. Lawyers weren't miracle workers.
Good. Do you know if the police have new information?
Josh shook his head.
It happened so fast, I don't know what they said. She's trying to be helpful, but I'm worried she'll make it worse.
Your statement didn't help,
Tess said.
No.
He dropped his head.
I didn't want to, but they talked and talked. After a while, I couldn't hold it back anymore.
Why did you move the body?
I was afraid that Ava was the one who hit Amya. I thought I could make it look like she fell in the tub.
But when Amya came to, she'd be able to say what happened.
I know. I wasn't thinking straight.
Well, Lance is good. If he can help her, he will.
Will he be able to keep her out of jail?
Josh asked.
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
They sat in silence as they waited to see what would happen. Tess had hoped that Lance would go in and get Ava out of the interrogation, but apparently she was still talking. At least she had an attorney. Tess thought about calling Jack, but checking her watch, she knew he was in a meeting with Brad. Plus, she wasn't sure what she should report. She decided to wait until she had something definitive, such as Ava's arrest, before calling him. The first person to walk out from the back hall that housed the interrogation rooms was Daniel, and he didn't look happy. He latched his dark gray eyes on her.
Did you call Gray?
Yes.
She thought he was going to ask why, but of course he knew why.
Are you arresting her?
Josh asked.
Not yet.
Tess didn't like the determination in his eyes. She was dying to know what evidence he had that supported the idea that Ava was the murderer.
Oh, God.
Josh said, sinking back down to his seat.
What will the charge be?
Tess asked, remembering that the only thing they really had was a possible assault charge.
Hey, Showalter.
Sam, another detective in Daniel's unit, called from across the room, waving a folder at him.
I've got to get back to work.
It sounds bad.
Josh said after Daniel left.
Yes.
Tess agreed.
But Lance is good. She might be arrested, but that doesn't mean she'll be convicted.
But her career.
Right now, you should be worried about more important things than her reputation.
Right.
Tess saw Lance emerge from the back hall with Ava right behind him. She looked tired until she caught sight of Tess. Then her face turned angry. Tess couldn't imagine why. She might have just prevented Ava from being arrested.
Everything okay?
Josh asked.
Apparently, I can go.
Ava said. There was a cool aloofness to her tone that had Tess looking to Lance for explanation. He gave her an imperceptible shake of his head. That's all she needed to know, that things weren't looking good for Ava.
Did you do this?
Ava looked at Tess but pointed at Lance.
I asked her.
Josh started but was cut off.
Now they think I have something to hide, thanks to you.
Tess's confusion grew. Why was Ava angry?
Ms. Dumont, I don't think you understand the gravity of your situation.
Lance intervened.
I know that when I got here, they knew I was being cooperative, and now, because I have an attorney, they suspect I have something to hide. If I'm arrested, it will be your fault.
Ava, I called her and asked for her help.
Josh said.
This is because you're jealous, right? You seem to have a problem with all of Jack's old friends. You got the last one out of the way, didn't you?
She was a murderer.
Tess said, taken aback by Ava's behavior.
Thanks to you, she's in jail and no longer a threat.
She's in jail because she killed her husband.
Tess said, moving from stunned to angry.
Is she talking about Liv?
Lance asked. Tess nodded.
Don't tell me you were her lawyer, too.
Lance winced, giving away the truth.
You're as conniving as Amya.
A part of Tess wanted to fight back, but she was in the middle of the police station where people were starting to stare. And there was Josh's desperate attempts to get Ava away from the scene.
I'm sorry you think so.
Tess managed.
Let's go, Josh.
Ava whirled away. She stopped after a few steps and turned to Tess again.
Don't think I won't tell Jack about this. He'll see you for what you really are.
Ms. Dumont.
Tess jumped at the dark tone of Daniel's voice coming from behind her.
I'd listen to your lawyer, if I were you. He and Tess have given you another night of freedom.
She sneered.
And you clearly don't know Jack, if you think for 1 minute you can change his feelings for her.
Kate chimed in. Tess turned to see her friend. She didn't know where she'd come from, but she was glad Kate was there. Ava looked at them all like they were back road hicks and stalked off.
When did you get here?
Tess asked Kate.
I'm doing some research.
She watched as Daniel retreated from the group without a word.
I see why you're not practicing law anymore, Tess.
Lance said.
You have some of the most temperamental clients.
Tess had to agree.
Thank you for coming down.
Not a problem. I wonder if she'll be in touch.
Do you think Daniel is right and she'll be arrested?
Kate asked. Lance looked at Kate, his eyes taking her in with appreciation.
Do I know you?
If you watch the news, you've probably seen her.
He smiled.
Ah, yes. Kate Wells.
Kate smiled back. Tess wasn't sure if it was because she was recognized or because Lance's smile suggested he was really glad to meet her.
Of course. I can't reveal anything about my client, but I will say the police seem to have a one-track mind.
So much for the Reese and Ava reunion movie?
Kate said. That is the least of their problems, Tess thought. She also knew she had a big problem when Jack got wind of what was going on.
Miss Wells, I can't give you any information about this case, but if you'd allow me to take you to coffee, we could talk about anything else you like.
Lance said. Kate looked surprised, but then smiled.
I'd like that.
I'm Lance Gray.
They shook hands and Tess watched as they walked off. She knew she needed to call Jack, but turned back to see what, if anything, she could learn from Daniel. She saw him across the room, and if she wasn't mistaken, he was watching Kate saunter off with Lance. Interesting. When he made eye contact with Tess, she started to make her way to him, but he shook his head, his eyes telling her now wasn't the time. So she nodded in understanding and left the station. Tess checked her watch as she got in her car. Jack would be home in an hour or so. She decided the news about Ava would be better delivered face-to-face. Realizing she didn't want to cook after all, she stopped at Trader Joe's and picked up a variety of ready-made meals. Once back in her car, she'd just pulled out into traffic when her phone beeped.
Hello?
What the hell is going on?
Jack's angry voice bellowed through the phone.
You talked to Ava.
Ava talked to me and had some very interesting things to say.
For a moment, Tess wondered if she underestimated Ava's influence on Jack. Could she really convince him that she was jealous and out to get rid of her?
Why didn't you call me?
He demanded.
I thought it would be better to talk in person when you got home.
In person? She's been interrogated twice in 2 days, and you don't think that warrants a call to me?
She asked me not to call you yesterday.
And you listened to her?
I was trying to be her friend.
By getting her arrested?
Tess sighed.
She's not arrested. I was looking out for her.
You should have called me, Tess. You're my wife. That trumps being her friend.
Tess's hackles rose. How much had Jack neglected to tell her over the course of their relationship in loyalty to a friend?
Now instead of coming home, I have to go manage Ava.
Hurt and anger swelled.
Of course you do. It's a wonder she survived this long without you.
Jack said something, but she couldn't hear it because of static on the line. She said the cursory, "Can you hear me?" But the call dropped. Tess determined he must be in the dead zone that put him 30 minutes from home. Except he wasn't coming home, she reminded herself.
Jack stood outside Ava's door and considered bailing on her. He should be home with Tess. The phone line had gone dead, and he hadn't been able to reconnect. But he didn't need to hear her voice to know she was angry. So he rapped on Ava's door.
Jack.
Josh said as he opened it.
How's Ava?
She's not as bad as you might expect. She's cleaning up in the bathroom, but should be done shortly. How's your wife?
Tess, why?
Ava laid into her pretty good at the station today.
What?
All of a sudden, a fierce protective feeling washed over him. He knew how Ava could be. He should have considered what she might have said to Tess when she was ranting at him on the phone. Guilt that he hadn't thought about it weighed on him, added with anger that Ava would hurt his wife. It was one thing when she took her anger out on him, but he'd be damned if he'd let her take it out on Tess.
I tried to tell her, but you know how Ava gets. Although I will say your wife took it pretty well. Most would be crying or screaming, but your wife acted like it was nothing.
Good for Tess, Jack thought. Still, he hated the idea that Tess had to bear the brunt of Ava's temper.
What happened?
Ava thinks the police are going to be more suspicious of her because Tess called a lawyer and had him stop the interview. The thing is, I called your wife. I knew her plan and helped implement it.
Jack, thank God you're here.
Ava said, entering the room. The anger was gone. Instead, she looked relieved, maybe even a little smug, as she reached out, took his hands, and pulled him to the couch.
I've had a hell of a day.
So you said on the phone.
He sat but wouldn't let her pull him into her drama.
What's this I hear about you attacking Tess?
She cast Josh an accusing glance before turning back to Jack.
I know you love her, but what she did is inexcusable. That's why you're here.
What did she do? Because the version I've heard is that she helped keep you out of jail.
She sighed.
I know it looks like she was helpful, but that's what's so devious about it.
The word devious hung in the air. That wasn't Tess. Before he could correct her, she said,
I've been completely cooperative with the police. I've answered all their questions and I've nothing to hide. And then all of a sudden a lawyer barges in, says Josh sent him, and stops the interview. Now the police are suspicious of me. They said it in the interview, that it looks worse when a lawyer is brought in. And of course it's true.
Ava, this isn't an episode of Order in the Court, this is real life.
I know that.
She spat, as if she thought Jack were speaking to her like she was stupid.
She's jealous. It's just like what happened with your last girlfriend.
Jack would have laughed at the irony if Ava wasn't attacking his wife.
She was guilty. She's in jail because she's a murderer, not because Tess was jealous, which she wasn't.
At the time, you said yourself she was jealous.
I was wrong. She was looking out for me, just like she was looking out for you.
Jack turned his attention to Josh.
What did the lawyer say?
He said,
Don't talk about me like I'm not here or that I'm a child. He said I was underestimating the gravity of the situation. Gravity he created.
Josh shook his head.
Do you think she might have been arrested if the lawyer didn't show up?
Jack asked Josh.
What?
Ava said.
I don't know, but that's the impression the lawyer and Tess gave. Even the cops suggested that Ava wasn't fully recognizing the problem.
Arrest me? On what evidence?
I don't know,
Josh said.
Did they ask about Wade?
Jack asked.
Wade?
She turned white, and for the first time since his arrival, Jack felt bad for her.
No, but...
But what?
Jack prodded.
They did ask if I'd ever struck anyone before, even if justified. I told them no.
Jack winced.
Who's Wade?
Josh asked. Ava shook her head.
Josh, would you mind giving us a moment alone?
Jack asked. He didn't want to, but Josh nodded.
I'll run down and see what's going on with the meetings Mel had planned.
Wade has no bearing on this,
Ava said when the door shut behind Josh.
He was killing my mother, and I was never arrested. There should be no record.
She stared at Jack.
I thought you said no one would know?
Hiding your identity so it doesn't hold you back from working isn't the same as hiding you from law enforcement.
It still doesn't matter.
Unless Amya knew. What would you do to keep her from revealing that you killed Wade?
I might hit her, which I didn't, but I wouldn't kill her.
But the police will think it's motive. I think Tess saved you today. And how do you thank her?
Jack stood.
I don't ever want you to speak to her like that again. I don't want you to speak to me or anyone about her like that again.
Jack, come on. We've been friends for a long time.
Ava stood.
We've been through so much, helped each other through so many tough times. In the end, it's still you and me.
Jack studied her, trying to decide if she was forcing his hand.
If I have to choose Ava, I'll choose her. I've got to get home and apologize for myself and for you.
Jack!
But he was already out the door. Jack drove up the driveway, running all the things he needed to say through his mind. He knew he had to apologize, but for once Tess wasn't blameless. She should have called him when the police first called Ava in.
Tess,
he called as he entered the foyer. The house was quiet, and for a minute he wondered if she was home. Then she appeared in the kitchen doorway.
There's some takeout from Trader Joe's. I wasn't sure when you'd be back, so I ate already.
She said as she headed to the stairs.
I'm going upstairs to clean up.
Don't do this, Tess. We need to talk.
She shook her head, but then stopped midway up the stairs.
I'll apologize for not calling. I knew I should have, but Ava asked me not to. But beyond that, what's there to say?
I'm sorry.
He moved up the stairs, stopping a few steps below her.
I'm sorry I didn't come home first, and I'm sorry that Ava had one of her tantrums.
Did you tell her about Liv?
He was surprised by the question, but nodded.
She's been a trusted friend for a long time. When things were difficult between us, I talked to her. She told me I was being a jerk, so I'm surprised she used it against you.
Did she tell you that I was jealous and trying to sabotage her relationship with you? That I wanted her in jail just like Liv?
He winced.
She used the word devious.
Yes, like Amya.
Surely you didn't buy any of that.
She shook her head.
Not at the time.
But you do now.
Jack had that familiar mixture of anger and panic that came when he worried Tess might retreat from him.
It crossed my mind when you yelled at me for not calling you and decided you needed to manage Ava instead of coming home.
He closed his eyes and swore.
I told her if she ever pulled that again, our friendship would be over.
I'm not jealous and I don't mind you being her friend.
I know, but I mind her treating you like that. I won't have it, Tess.
He thought he saw her shell soften a little bit.
Why didn't you tell me what she said?
He asked.
The line went dead.
But you wouldn't have.
She shrugged.
I know how she is, and I'm not a tattler.
He smiled.
I missed you.
This time he stepped on the step right below her, putting himself a whisper away from her.
Were you gone?
He growled and banded his arm around her waist, jerking her to him. He sighed in relief when she looped her arms around his neck. He nodded his head, telling her it was time to kiss and make up. She was a step above him, making it easy for her to reach his mouth with her own. She leaned toward him. His lips took hers, slow, thorough, until the rest of her softened against him. As his lips trailed along her jaw and nibbled on her ear, he smiled when she shivered. The first knock on the door went unnoticed. The second was followed by a voice.
Jack, I know you're home.
Ava called. Jack swore against Tess's neck as he worked to catch his breath.
If we go upstairs, we can ignore her.
I'm not leaving until I can talk to you and Tess.
She's not leaving.
Tess said, and
So she can stay out there.
Jack, let her in. We can resume this later.
Have you noticed lately that we're interrupted every time we start to make love?
she nodded. He growled and headed downstairs.
You might want to button your shirt.
Tess said as she buttoned her own and made her way down the stairs.
Otherwise, she'll know what we were up to.
I want her to know.
Tess's cheeks reddened, but she knew Ava would probably be more embarrassed.
You have the worst timing,
Jack said, swinging the door open. Ava looked at his open shirt and then at Tess standing at the base of the stairs. Her expression had Tess looking down to realize her buttons were askew.
Oh, God, I'm interrupting. I'm
Yes, you are,
Jack said.
I feel bad about what I did, especially to you, Tess.
Ava poked her head around Jack.
I'm so sorry.
Apology accepted. Have a good night.
Jack started to close the door.
Jack!
Tess chastised, looking up briefly from fixing her buttons. Ava's hand shot out to stop him from closing the door in her face.
Please, Jack, let me fix this. Then I'll be out of your hair. I'll need to call a cab anyway.
How'd you get here?
I took a cab, but I sent him away.
Let her in, Jack.
Tess said, coming to stand next to him.
I'll make some coffee.
Reluctantly, Jack opened the door.
You owe me.
I know I do, and I'll probably never pay back all my IOUs.
Why don't you wait in the living room while I help Tess?
Ava nodded. Jack entered the kitchen, where Tess had just poked the button to start the coffee percolating.
I've already eaten.
She looked a little guilty, and then he realized she'd eaten without him as a punishment he deserved for not coming straight home.
I can put out the biscotti I made last week.
I don't want her to stay. She doesn't need food.
Jack, don't be mean.
Tess pulled out a container and a plate. She opened it, and the smell of chocolate and almonds wafted through the air. Jack stood behind Tess, slid his hands around her waist to her belly, and pulled her back against him.
I was hoping to be past makeup sex by now and on to having you show off your new lingerie.
I know, and we will, just not right now.
He sighed.
There's something I should tell you.
She turned in his arms, her eyes narrowed in suspicion.
That preface is never good news.
It's bad, but not bad about me. Not really anyway.
He cursed himself because he knew he was making it worse. He took her hand and led her to the table to sit. She went, but he could feel her piercing amber eyes watching him.
When Ava was a teenager, she came home from school to find her mom being beaten by her boyfriend. Her home life was fairly chaotic before that, and domestic violence wasn't that unusual.
He saw Tess's eyes turn from suspicion to concern.
This time it was bad, and Ava took her bat.
She had a bat?
Ava was an all-star in softball. Anyway, she beat Wade with it and, well, he died.
Oh my God.
Her mom didn't fare much better. She wasn't the same and ended up in an assisted living situation because of brain damage, not from Ava, but from Wade. She died several years ago, and Ava blames Wade for her death.
Of course she would.
Ava was the result of an affair her mom had with a married man, but when her mom was incapacitated, Ava went to live with him. We were able to stay friends and see each other, even though she moved down near Lorton and went to a different high school. Except for me, she wanted to separate herself from her old life and from what had happened, so she changed her name and took her dad's last name.
What was her name before?
Aveline Schoner. When she went with her dad, she changed it to Ava Wallace. She became Dumont when she turned 18 and moved to California.
Wow.
There's more.
Of course there is.
Tess said with a shake of her head.
First, I suspect that the police have found out about Ava killing Wade, even though she was never arrested, and there have been attempts to separate Aveline Schoner from Ava Dumont.
Tess's eyes narrowed again.
Does that mean what I think it does?
I'm afraid so. I was 17 when she asked if there was a way I could change records, so there was no link between her new identity and the old one.
But Social Security would link them.
She didn't have a Social Security card until she got one at 18, and my...
Hacking?
Tess offered. He gave her a sheepish smile.
All right, it was designed to hide her past from potential employers, not law enforcement.
I guess that's not so bad.
I'm not worried about my part. I'm worried about the police finding out. She denied ever attacking anyone in the past.
They asked her that?
Yes, if they know about Wade, they know she was lying. It was justified, but they could still use it to show her violent tendencies.
Actually, I think they'd use it as motive. Ava said that Amia liked to use dirt against people. Although I think Ava's past is a tragedy no young girl should have to go through. Amia strikes me as a person who'd use that against Ava. And if Ava really didn't want it to come out, killing Amia would be the solution.
Jack understood the seriousness of Ava's situation, but hearing Tess lay it out made it seem even worse.
Do you think she should tell her lawyer all this?
Tess took his hands and nodded.
You know I do. Murder is messy and sometimes skeletons make things worse. Lance will be able to protect her.
I think she'll listen to me,
Jack said, although he wasn't sure.
Let me get the coffee, you can carry the biscotti, and we'll find out.
Tess? Will I need a lawyer?
She narrowed her eyes at him.
Yes, but fortunately, you already have one.
He grinned as he stood and pulled her up with him.
You're the best wife ever. You know that, right?
I'll let you convince me of that later.
She gave him a quick kiss and then gathered the coffee and snacks.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Tales from the Heart. I hope you enjoyed it and that you will be back to find out what happens next. Now remember, members of my Sweetheart group can listen to full uncensored episodes through my website. Just visit jennaharte.com and click to become a Sweetheart for access to uncensored audio episodes, bonus content, and more. If you'd like to read along or get ahead in the story, you can get Til Death Do Us Part from your favorite ebook retailer or save by buying direct from me. All the details and links you might need are just a click away in the description. Make sure you don't miss the next episode. Hit the subscribe button so you'll know when it's posted. Thank you again for listening. Until next time, this is Jenna Harte wishing you peace, love, and happily ever after.